Because I think at the end of the day, everything you want to focus on with this media property is the intent. Where's the buyer intent coming from? Where are you going to find buyers? Where are you going to, where's the quality coming from?
Welcome back to the Talking Web Marketing Podcast with myself, Ilana Wexler. This is a show where we reveal the best tips, tricks and tactics to increasing your website traffic and then converting that traffic into leads and sales. We also discuss what's working right now in the ever-changing world of web marketing so you can apply it to your business. Welcome back to another episode of Talking Web Marketing. Today's episode is actually part 2 of my interview with Stephen Esketzis of how to build a media property. So if you haven't listened to part 1, be sure to do that first before you listen to this episode. Otherwise, it's probably not going to make much sense to you. But for those of you who have listened to part 1, I really hope that you enjoy this part 2 episode. I really enjoyed chatting with Stephen, so I'm sure you'll enjoy listening to it as well. So let's get stuck in today's show. And there's I think a mantra in the content marketing space, or the digital marketing space, which I think is fundamentally flawed, which is build it and they will come. Be it build the content and Google will sprinkle you with love and grant you traffic. I think that's a farce. So what are some of the ways that you kind of really, I guess, promote your content and syndicate it out and I guess the strategies for growth?
Yeah, so with our first site, the health one, we literally followed the build it and they will come, which is not a good idea.
Oh, and it worked. There you go.
Well, it did work, but what you want to focus on, like for us, syndication, so we put a lot of effort into platforms like Pinterest and Facebook and Instagram in the early days. And Pinterest right now probably makes up about 4 to 5% of our daily traffic, and we put a fair bit of work into that. So look, when it gets to SEO, focus on link building. Like literally content and link building. If you can focus on those two things, then Google's going to start treating you right. So that's what I would. At the first 90 days should be focused on your on page. Get your structure right. Get your your on page technical SEO right. All of that. Get on webmaster tools. So you can start seeing the traffic, everything like that. Then beyond that, really good content. That's engaging, good, solid content that ranks well. So good length as well. And then start focusing on acquiring links. That's the thing that most people hate doing, most people are lazy doing. If you can start doing link building and start actually, acquiring links to your content for, good quality links that are relevant in your industry, that's how you're going to rank, no matter what anyone says. That's just the 80-20 of being good at SEO. And I keep telling people that, and everyone thinks there's some kind of magic bullet, but it's literally just a slog of acquiring links, sending a lot of emails, and writing good content.
But I guess my question is probably more around, yes, there's the link building aspect, but are there any other methods that you use for growth, like leverage? As you said, you use Pinterest and Facebook. Like, how exactly do you use those other properties to really generate traffic to your site? Like, is it just posting regularly, or what do you do?
Yeah, so with Pinterest, what we did, so we probably use Pinterest more than Facebook. So with Pinterest, each of our posts would have a featured image on the actual website, and then we would also create a poster version of that image, kind of like a Pinterest optimized image. And then as soon as we would publish our post, it would get published on Pinterest as well. Another thing that we did, which actually did really well, is we found a really good designer in the Philippines who was great at infographics, who we hired early on, and we published one infographic every single day. So for us, that allows us to scale the design aspect of everything we're doing with Pinterest. So now we've been publishing one infographic every day. And with Pinterest, it's funny, like we'll write an infographic on each of our content posts and then attach it to the bottom if people want to share it. But we'll publish it natively on Pinterest. And it's, you get a lot that are hit and miss, but say 1 in 10 does really well and it'll just get repinned across Pinterest. So we've had some which have like hundreds of thousands of shares purely because, it resonates with people. And, once it catches fire, it just keeps going. So Pinterest is a really good platform if you're in, fashion, health, beauty, fitness, a lot of those different kind of, creative arts, interior design, home improvement. a lot of those spaces are really good for Pinterest. If you're in something, let's say you're in like MMA fighting or something like that, might not be probably your niche, but it's got its pros and cons. So that was a really easy way for us to grow. And another thing we did on Pinterest as well was group boards. So similar to Facebook, how we've got groups, on Pinterest you've got group boards where you can, comment, share, get involved in other people's boards and post content that's relevant. So we were able to get our content in other people's boards where there's a lot of followers. So there's a lot of different ways you can use Pinterest. It's just about providing creative content that's shareable.
Do you think, no doubt I've tried lots of different things on Pinterest. Are there any kind of certain elements that make something more shareable than something else? Like if you could, do you do things differently now? Like now that you've kind of seen what works and what doesn't work, that makes something more shareable?
In all honesty, I still haven't cracked that one. I think Pinterest, I can't work out why people like some things and others. Like some designs I think look horrible end up doing the best. And some I think do, that look amazing, don't do well. So I don't know if it's just like all these females that are clicking it and my male brain just can't handle and doesn't understand. Or I can't understand if it's just like my design eye is just totally off. So yeah. That's the reason you've got to kind of do, I think, high volume on Pinterest. Otherwise, you don't know. It's too hard to figure out. But, I'm sure there is an underlying aspect of why something works, but I just haven't worked that part out yet.
I'm just curious, I guess being a bit of a data and analytical person, have you had a look at the quality of that traffic from Pinterest? Like, is it good quality traffic or is it just people clicking and leaving straight away?
So the biggest difference is with Pinterest, like that's a social platform. So people go on there to see social things, to share, to like and comment. But with Google, it's all search intent. So if people have a cold or some sort of problem, then they're going to search for the problem and then land on our site and read the whole 4,000 word article on how to get over the symptoms.
Yeah.
So the quality of click is always better on Google because they're sitting there looking and the intent's a lot more meaningful. However, Pinterest traffic is really good just to show Google that you're actually getting traffic from multiple places as well. They like that as a signal. But, we also get a lot of people that subscribe through Pinterest too. So, it's not as good as Google in terms of the intent, because I think at the end of the day, everything you want to focus on with this media property is the intent. Where's the buyer intent coming from? Where are you going to find buyers? Where are you going to, where's the quality coming from? And SEO is great for that because you can always target keywords with certain intent. And we started doing two different types of content. So we started doing content which is kind of like a pillar post, like the ultimate guide to blah, blah, blah. And then we've also done review style posts once we started getting involved with like an Amazon affiliate, which is the best sneakers for women under 40, whatever that might be. And then we do a review of 5 different types of sneakers. So then there's different types of posts there. So if someone comes to our sneakers posts, they're obviously in the buying mentality. They're looking at prices. They might click through to Amazon and buy a pair of shoes. Then we're going to get a commission from that. So that's the reason we write for those types of people. And then we have our pillar posts, which are more like educational, keeps people on the page longer, generally a bit longer content. And for us, that's really good because, a lot of our revenue comes from display advertising, which is, banner ads.
Banner ads on your website, yeah?
Correct, yeah. So we're the publisher. So we actually have the ads. And then, people who advertise through Google and things like that will show their ads on our site.
Okay, I'll get on to the monetization aspect in a minute.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask you one more thing on the scaling aspect.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you reckon it took you to really kind of get that exponential growth?
So I think with SEO, everyone wants the quick wins overnight. It's not that simple, unfortunately.
No.
But when you put a lot of effort in, it comes out just a lot slower. So for us, I'd have to look at the analytics, but I think within the first 3 or 4 months, we saw barely any traffic. So close to zero every day. And we started doing a fair bit of work. So I was like, man, maybe this isn't working. Maybe it's not going to lead to the results I was expecting. Maybe the staff are doing something wrong or our strategy's wrong. But then kind of month 5, month 6, we started seeing this traffic spike and it started picking up and then it keeps going. And it just kept going into this slow but steady growth ramp for the next 2 years. And we really haven't had any change in that growth ramp. So it really is just a slow and steady process. And then week to week, we would start being, 10% up week to week on last week's traffic. So that slow, steady growth is totally natural with Google because you can't go too quick or they'll think something's up. But at the same time, if you go too slow, it'll just kind of stagnate and sit where it's at. So as long as you're producing content regularly, and as long as you're doing your outreach with your link building and everything like that regularly, it'll have that slow and steady increase. So, I mean, it depends on how you build this type of site, right? So this is why I said the monetization I wanted to do now on my next sites at the same time, because I don't want to spend all my money into content and link building and then just have to twiddle my thumbs and wait patiently for 12 months before the revenue starts rolling in, which is kind of what we did with this site. So the next site I would do is, with paid traffic, obviously, you can just turn it on and off, whereas SEO, you've got to wait and be patient. So if you can find an industry where you can do both and you've got the expertise where you can do both, I think that's the golden egg, because literally while we've got the team now working on content, I'm building funnels for a membership site, for different offers, for physical, for digital products, and we can start getting revenue through the door to start funding the content strategy. Yep. And then over the 12 months, now we've got a fully fledged system on, are they on Facebook? We can acquire them there. Are they on YouTube? We can spend money there. And then the SEO system is working in the background because we've built those systems from our previous media properties.
Nice.
So it's kind of like, again, SEO takes time, takes a lot of money, but it pays off in spades, because now if we stopped everything, we would still have traffic coming through. We'd still be making money every single month through advertising and affiliates and all that, and we wouldn't need to touch it. So it's got its pros and cons.
Yeah, look, I'm, being a PPC person, I certainly don't advocate that people only do that. I don't think you should rely on only one traffic source. So it's one piece of a big pie. So you're really touching on all the pieces of the pie, which I think are really important to build the asset that will last. Like, so you can turn the PPC ads off and you still, as you say, got traffic coming to your site. It's like gardening. You're planting the seeds and you're watering them every day, and once they're fully grown, and you don't have to, well, maybe you do, I'm not a gardener, but the analogy, like it's built the roots are well established in the soil, and it will continue to provide fruits from that initial labor.
Yeah, exactly right. So it's just a matter of, like, now I'm kind of wise enough to know. Back then I just wanted to build an asset which, I wasn't responsible to anyone for. It was just kind of our own little egg that we'd grow and get bigger, and obviously, it would start generating revenue itself, and then that was it, and we can grow it from there onwards, which it's done. But now, if we would do it again, definitely, I think, have a paid media acquisition arm of the company go alongside the free one, and that way you can just start building and acquiring leads and customers and everything like that. One other problem we faced, which I regret not doing earlier, is in the health space, I never wanted to become a seller of supplements or things like that. So I just didn't want to get involved in that space because I know it can be messy with merchant accounts and all these different issues. So we couldn't really sell a lot. I couldn't be a actual, product seller. Mm-hmm. Whereas in a lot of these new sites we're working with now, like, I'm totally comfortable with selling products in the space and, getting bigger from there onwards. So I think make sure that you can actually sell a product or service, or you might even be able to sell leads as well. I've got a friend who's got a media property in the solar space. And, they get tons of leads for inquiries about installing solar, and he just sells them off to different solar companies. So you can do it in, totally different industries. It's just a matter of making sure you can monetize it appropriately.
Cool. All right. So let's talk about the monetization aspect. Using your example of the property that you did, I know you mentioned that you didn't monetize early, but when you did monetize, what are some of the methods and ways that you monetized?
Yeah. So what we did, I think very first one we did was just Amazon affiliate. So we recommend people products, and then based on the content that we put out, leads people to check out those products and buy it through Amazon.
Yep.
That was one. ClickBank.
What is the Amazon affiliate commission still 4% these days?
Oh, it's horrible. It's like 4 or 5%.
Yeah.
But the decent thing with Amazon is, say they buy a fridge in the next 2 days, you still get commission on that, even though you didn't link them to a fridge.
Yes.
So it's across their entire site, and obviously in the States, Amazon is huge, and most of our traffic is in the US and UK. So it was pretty good in that respect, but again, it's not great. Like, for us, that's kind of a second or third, fourth level, revenue source. Our biggest one's obviously advertising, so display and banner ads.
So,
So that's a whole kind of beast in itself because my experience is as an advertiser, not a publisher.
yes.
And that ball game is like very different. So they work on, impressions, and the more impressions you have, the more money you make, because we're not making money off clicks, right? Like the more people that visit the site that loads an impression, then the more money we make as a publisher, which is kind of backwards to an advertiser's way of thinking.
So CPM.
CPM, exactly, yeah. Because what happens is when you're working with sites with a lot of traffic, you'll also get, sites that doing direct response marketing, but a lot of these sites are just brand campaigns. So you look at Qantas or Singapore Airlines or Google, like whatever it might be. These guys are just dumping budgets to get in front of people in the US or the UK or whatever. So a lot of their ads pop up on our site, which is great. But it just shows you that, how do we get then CPMs up on our site? How do we get people to stay on our site longer? Now you start looking at all these different questions to try and boost your monetization on your website.
Yep.
And that industry is interesting. I learned a lot out of it. We've hired consultants and stuff to set it all up because I had not much idea on how it works. But once you kind of dive in deeper as a publisher, you start seeing that, you can make more money by there's some little, hacks and things like that people are doing in the industry. For example, if you have a banner ad, Google allows you to load a new ad every 30 seconds. And every 30 seconds a new ad loads on your web page, then you make more money because you're loading a new impression. So like if you've ever gone to these like viral quiz sites, you'll click, 17 historic war veterans that died with, fungus or something. I don't know. Like all these weird, crazy headlines they get you to click on. And then like you see this like funny post or this like weird historic post, and they make you hit the next button, and every time you go to a new page.
Yes.
The reason they do that is because you'll see like 7 ad placements around that button or around that image. Every time you hit next, another 7 new ad placements pop up. So if on average you go through like 20 of these slides times 7 ad placements, it's like, what's that, like 140 different, impressions come up. So then what they do is they buy like penny clicks, and then they'll make, 2 cents off it. So they've got a 1 cent ROI, double their money. They'll just keep pouring money into campaigns like that.
So it's like an arbitrage.
Yeah, so it's like an arbitrage. So it's literally just milking it. But for us, obviously, we were mainly on SEO, so it was just getting as much out of our SEO traffic as we could. So it's really, I don't know, it's just it's a totally different industry, the advertising as a publisher kind of side of things, which is good to learn because I think it's important to know how both sides of the work, the bidding and, selling ad space.
Yep.
So that was really cool. So there's advertising, ClickBank is another one, just selling products.
What about your own products? Because I would imagine there's probably more money in that than all the selling other people's.
But in the health one, I didn't go down that route because I didn't want to get involved in building our own product and doing all that kind of thing. I just knew that on the paid media side, I know like Facebook's a pain with health products and there's a huge, policy changes and all that kind of stuff. And then I just didn't want the headache, really. Okay. I was like, good at content, we're good at production, we're making money through advertising, let's just keep scaling it. Rather than having to deal with refunds and this and that, it becomes another business in itself almost.
Yeah.
Whereas moving forward now, we've kind of taken on that now we're bringing our own products in the mix, and e-commerce as well as another opportunity.
Yep.
So the beauty of all owning a media property is you can do whatever you want with it. That's, I think, the most important part is you own the asset. So whatever the site is, it could be whatever, solarauthority.com if you're doing solar panels. People are coming to you through, SEO. People are coming through Facebook. People are coming to you through whatever. There's tons of different ways to monetize that. And you can be creative as well, whether it's selling leads or, there's something called co-registration where after someone opts in, they can join a few other people's email lists as well just by ticking boxes. And then you can sell the lead to these people. There's just tons of different ways. You can start subscribing people through email to build your list and push notifications as well to build your push notification list. Another really good way to, get people to click when you want to send an offer out. So it's just different ways. You can have an e-commerce store as well attached to your website. You can the sky's the limit. And the best part is when you're ready to sell is the multiple is really good because it's all recurring revenue. That's the most important thing. So, when we're ready to sell, we can get a 20 to 30 times month revenue. So let's say you're making 10 grand a month. You can sell, generally, I think the market rate's about 25 to 30 times monthly revenue. So you can look at, 300 grand sellout if you're only making 10 grand a month with your media property.
Wow.
So like it's got a very good return on investment if you're looking to sell it. So if you're making 50 grand a month, that's 1.5 mil just off a media property that's doing something like that. And then if you really want to get fancy, if you build a little bit of software into your media property, so turn it into a SaaS or something like that, then the software multiple goes up even higher. Again, because it's recurring revenue, and you've got a bit of IP behind there as well now. So
Interesting.
it's I kind of see it as a bit of a numbers game as well. Like, how do we get the biggest multiple? Where's the lowest hanging fruit? What are the different monetization opportunities? And now you've got this asset, which if you're big enough, you might annoy another company in the space who might just come and give you an offer to buy you out. And it happens very often. Like WMD sold recently as well for like $1 billion or something like that, crazy. And essentially, that's all they are. They're just a media property. They just answer a lot of questions and they put it on the site, and then they get a lot of traffic. So if you can build that authority site in your industry, then it's worth a lot to a lot of big brands as well. And they might come and gobble you up, and it could be a really nice exit for you.
Yeah. But by the sounds of it, it is definitely a long-term play.
It is. It definitely is. It's not an overnight success thing. But I mean, like, same with anything. I don't think people should get turned off by it, because it's definitely something which that's how you're going to set yourself apart from your competitors. Your competitors are just going to have their brand, their website, and then a blog attached to it. Whereas just think of this as a blog, and that's your main focus, is blogging and putting content out for your marketplace. I think it's just, like here in Australia, we've got finder.com.au, and these guys are just a comparison website. And, now they've kind of become a media property in their own right, comparing different third-party products. So you can do it in tons of different ways. It's just a matter of finding out what works in your industry.
Very, very cool. Have you ever kind of experimented with sponsored content?
Yeah, so we get hit up very often about sponsored content.
I would imagine.
It just depends on the brand that you want to work with. A lot of the ones that reach out to us are pretty average, especially in health, like random supplements. I'm like, look, I don't really want to associate with that. But we have had a few where we've posted content, and it works really well. It gets some really good engagement. You send it out to your email list, send out notifications, and people love it. So you can do things like quizzes. You can do things like and different types of content. It doesn't just have to be long form SEO, but once you've got that traffic, you can engage with people as much as you want.
One thing I do want to ask you, from obviously I'm interested in what you do on the paid traffic side of things, because that's my slant. So I'm just curious do you use like Facebook ads to promote content, or do you promote like some kind of lead magnets to get them on the email list? Like, how do you leverage, I guess, all that you've built on your website with, like, what do you promote PPC wise?
Yeah, so I mean, with PPC, we didn't touch it. Like, there's no correlation between Facebook ads and SEO, so there's no point in spending money on that.
Yep.
You won't get any benefit out of the SEO as much as people think that it'll help. But what we do on the PPC side is we start driving paid traffic from, like, I'm trying to build a membership model into pretty much all our media properties.
Mm-hmm.
So a membership site, a community where people can just go through and pay month after month for content. And essentially our Facebook model is just doing the same thing, any funnel does, is just targeting with either a lead magnet or a webinar or something like that, putting through the membership site. And then once we've got them as a customer, then we can start sending them back to our media property as building the brand and the community up. So it's kind of in reverse. Whereas with the SEO side, we get them through the media property and then we sell them the membership site.
Okay.
So it's literally just targeting both sides of the fence, using a funnel, whether it's whatever it is, a landing page or a free plus shipping offer or a lead magnet. We just get them qualified through either Facebook and then take them to the membership, or vice versa.
Okay, but you're not using Facebook ads to promote your pillar content and stuff like that?
No, so we don't do that. It could work, I'm sure it could, but if you've got an email list that's pretty sizable after building up, going direct response straight to a membership or whatever your product is, then you can just send it out to that list. I find that works just as well.
Yeah. Have you experimented with Pinterest ads?
No, that's one I haven't touched yet. I'm sure it actually would be quite good because I don't think it's that mainstream yet, but I think it'd do quite well. I just haven't tested it yet.
Yeah. So from the content point of view, you're not actually amplifying it with paid mechanisms at all. You just
No, It's just all organic, all syndicated out to our audience. But paid, we haven't touched yet for syndication. It just, again, the efforts that we could put into that are better put into acquiring new opportunities with backlinks or new opportunities with spending more money on content. So
Yeah.
literally the opportunity cost just isn't there for us right now.
Yeah, interesting. It's an interesting take because I think there's so many people in the industry who talk about, using Facebook ads to promote the content, to build a remarketing list, and blah blah blah. But you've just
I think it could work. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's dead, but it's something which, for us, if we're going to spend more money on getting the content in front of other people, like what we would do is I would use that for the Facebook side of things. So let's say we wanted to get people to the membership site, then we could put content out, then remarket them the lead magnet, then remarket them with the membership option. Something like that would work for that element, but it doesn't make sense to get, our content, which is geared and written for SEO purposes,
yeah.
to a paid media audience, because it's just not written for that reason, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this opportunity cost. It's like, well, you've got a finite amount of money. Where's the best place to spend it? So,
And if you want to grow really quick, and this is something we're doing now as well, is just buying small sites. So again, you got to do your due diligence, but if you can find a site that's got a lot of content or got a great history with SEO and things like that, you can just gobble them up, buy them, and then roll them into your site or leverage it and keep it as well and grow it on its own. So there's a lot of opportunities to grow quickly. It doesn't have to be starting from scratch like we did. It can be, finding something that's already existing if you've got the money for it and then growing it from there.
So if you go down that strategy, are you then redirecting those acquired domain URLs to your website, or you're keeping that existing property?
It's up to you. So what we do is if we've got a big site already, then we can find smaller ones and roll them in. So we redirect all the content and we move the content onto our site.
Right.
Otherwise, if we want to keep it separate and we want to build something new, we might just go out and buy one and then build off that.
Right.
But you just have to be a little careful that you don't find something with a bad, backlink profile, or it's been spammed, or, there's content on there that's not that great, something like that. You don't want to end up buying a dud and then only realizing after you've purchased it, because you've got to do a bit of due diligence. So I think if it's not a huge site, or if it's not something that's going to make a decent impact, you're probably better off just, again, opportunity cost is, using the same strategies that we're doing and building your site the right way from day one.
Yeah. Which kind of leads me into my next question, which is, you touched on before that if you had your time again, you would have monetized the entire way through. Is there anything else that you would do differently if you were starting again?
If we were starting again, I think definitely find an industry where I'd be comfortable with different channel marketing. I wouldn't rely solely on SEO.
Yep.
So that's a big one that we're doing now. And then I think it's just, again, like selling products, obviously monetize earlier. One thing that I absolutely hate is email marketing. For some reason, I've got this big, despising hate against email marketing.
Really?
So we haven't done that much at all, to be honest, and we've got so much traffic. Even if we just put a pop-up on, I'm sure we'd get heaps of emails, but it's just something I haven't done. So I need to get over my fear of that, or hire someone to come and do it for me, because it's just missing out on so many easy opportunities.
Yeah.
But yeah, so something like that I need to definitely do. That's something I'd do properly. But otherwise, one more thing I think I would do well, and we're taking a lot more time to do now, is building a real brand. So we kind of put this site up, the first one, as like a test. We're we didn't know it was going to work or not. Started picking up, and it's done well, but it's just kind of a site. Whereas I think if you want to get that big, you want Google to see you as an authority, and you want to get the eyeballs of other people that are going to buy you out, you want to really build a brand around it. So, you look at BuzzFeed or something like that, you associate fun, you associate exciting, quizzes, polls, engaging, all of that kind of thing. Whereas you see some other authority sites or media properties, they're just a thin kind of site with content on them that are just mainly, they don't look that trustworthy at all. So I think one thing we're going to head more towards is the branding side of things. What do you stand for? Why do you have the content out there? Who's your target audience? Really getting clear on that and building a brand around that with the colors, with how people feel when they visit the site, building the community, which is part of the membership site. So it really is a 360-degree business where you're hitting it from all different angles. And I think they're the ones that convert the best. So if you see other big sites, one good one to see is like drax.com. He's another person in the health space that's doing this quite well. He's the face of the company, and they've built a really nice brand around it. And they're doing really well on SEO and really well on paid traffic as well, side by side. So I think they're a really good illustration on how to do it well. Another example is like if you want to see one more based around reviews, it's called RunnerClick. So runnerclick.com. And they do a whole lot of reviews on, sportswear and things like that, on reviewing runners and things like that. So they're a really good illustration on how to build up your Amazon revenue. But at the end of the day, the key here is not to be built on rented land. You don't want to build on Google too much. You don't want to build on Facebook too much, because if something happens, then you need your own owned media. You don't want to be using, unowned media the entire time and be reliant on that.
I couldn't agree with you more on that.
Yeah, so it's kind of the thing. I think you can use these as channels, but at the end of the day, build your own email list, build your own push notifications list, build your own, site acquisition methods where you own the media and you can drive everything over and over again. So that's kind of what we're doing with all the different channels.
Very, very awesome. And you presented, we showed a screenshot of the analytics showing 50,000 visitors a day. That's an amazing achievement. Well done. Sounds like it's been a lot of work for you guys, but it's more than paid off. So congratulations on that.
No, thank you. So hopefully, it kind of opens makes things a bit more transparent if you're looking to get into that space, and, I guess clarifies any questions you've got.
Yeah, no, definitely. You've covered heaps of stuff. In the start of this episode, we sort of promised that you'd cover a couple of the marketing hacks that you shared at Digital Marketer Down Under. So as promised, do you reckon we can, I guess we're sort of running out of time, but just quickly cover some of the marketing hacks? Because I was in both your sessions and there were some very cool hacks that you mentioned. So I think it's worth sharing here as well.
Yeah, so I'll give you a few that came out. I'm just going to run through. I've got the presentations here on my screen. So one that we did, which is really good, is running competitions. So pop up to a competition.
Nice.
And then what you use is a tool called Contest Domination. You enter on that pop up. And then essentially you put your email in if you want to give away some gear or some sort of product. And then people can recommend their friends as well to join the competition. And then really through that process, you're getting people who are interested in your product plus their recommendation. So you can get an opt-in rate of over 100% through that process, which is really cool.
That is very cool.
So that's one. What's another one? I'm just trying to find some cool ones that would apply to kind of media properties. So this is what we did for a media property recently. We did some, we needed for a new logo. So we looked for a new logo. We didn't know what would resonate with the market because we're not directly in the market. So we joined a whole lot of Facebook groups and then put out 3 different logos. They looked at the logos and pretty much voted on which logo was the best. And they were really targeted groups. And we got all our feedback. They all went for the same logo, which we thought would never win. And we had all that, done for a cost of $0. So now we've got, over 500 votes for logos on which one should win. And we did that really targeted, specific to the media property without even having to pay anyone. So that's a really easy hack. What else do we have? I don't know. Did you have any particular ones that you liked?
I'm looking through my list now too. You mentioned keyword keg and keyword finder is a cool, like I use keyword keg as well. So I think it's a cool keyword tool.
Yeah, I've got tons of Chrome extensions. So maybe I'll go through some Chrome extensions because I know, like, I kind of geek out on this stuff.
Yes, and I can see one that you mentioned, which I'm sure you'll mention it, but anyway.
Yeah, so Chrome extensions we had was one I use is Built With. So Built With pretty much just goes through and tells you what websites have in terms of their tech stack or plugins on their website.
Yep.
Really easy one. Keyword Keg, which you mentioned, was really good for keyword volume. Tells you how much your keyword volume is. And then what else do we have? This speed controller. So this really isn't much of a marketing hack, but it's saved me so many times.
And even productivity hack.
Yeah, and for watching Netflix, honestly, like if I'm not even doing anything productive. But like it puts a little controller on your overlay on all your videos, and you can speed up and slow down the video with this little controller, and you can fast forward 30 seconds and back 30 seconds. So when you use it, you can get past all the Facebook ads, you can get past all the YouTube ads with it. You can speed up your actual, viewability by 1.3 or 1.5. It's amazing. It's really one of my favorite little tools.
That is something I have asterisked, if that's a word, on my notes that I took, because nothing annoys me more than these video sales letters on pages or videos that have no controllers to, you don't even know where you are in the video. Like, it drives me crazy. So I'm going to be installing this whenever I next see one of those annoying videos.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really good. Another one we did was turning your Facebook ads into cartoons as a way of split testing them. Really easy way to try and make it work. To try, get that click through rate up and something that's, people aren't used to seeing.
I also
So,
liked where you said this company called Bond, where they write handwritten
yes,
notes. I think,
yeah,
in the days of automation and sort of, hiding behind your website and not kind of having a personalized approach, I think this is a really good opportunity for businesses to stand out.
that's right. Yeah, so I think it's bond.co from memory. Maybe just Google it to check. But they write. You can write a note on your phone, send it off to them, and they'll handwrite it. And believe it or not, it's used as a machine to handwrite, but it literally looks like a handwritten note, like someone's written it.
So cool.
Um,
That's awesome.
but it's only in the US for the moment. So if you've got clients in the US, you can do that, which is a really neat thing. Um, and then, yeah, I guess there's a few other bits and pieces in there, but I think
That's probably it.
overall, that's probably it that apply. I'm sure, if you want more, just let me know, or you can hook it up with your audience and,
Awesome.
chat to them about it. But yeah, I mean, hacks and things tools I think are really powerful. It's just a way of, again, leveraging your time so you don't have to waste time doing all this. Like if I've been able to build a media property, with like bloody over 1 million words written and I haven't done a single one of them, then you guys should definitely be using tools because you
That's
don't
right.
need to be a writer in this day and age to write, to have a content site. You don't need to be a Facebook advertiser to, run Facebook traffic. It's just so easy to leverage other skill sets and other tools and stuff to get what you want out of the world.
Yeah, and I think that's really inspiring for people because I think people can get really overwhelmed with all there is to do, or it's possible to do, and there's sort of paralysis by analysis really in that. And so what happens is people do nothing. And I've certainly been guilty of that. Just there's so much to do, you don't even know where to start. So you've definitely imparted some words of wisdom today. So mindful of your time, and I think we might wrap it up here. But before we do, where can people find out more information about you and your business?
Yeah, you can just contact me on Facebook. Just look up Stephen Esketzis and just send me a message. More than happy to reply to anyone. But otherwise, you can find me on stephenesketzis.com, which is my main site. Needs a bit of an update, but you'll find some content on there regarding to sales funnels and content stuff. We're about to launch. When I say we might be launching soon a new site based on media properties, on how to
Cool.
build them and things like that. So that's kind of been in progress for a little while, but I want to get something like that out because I think it's really needed. But yeah, feel free to hit me up. I'm happy to answer any questions you've got and, kind of help you out along the way. And if you're in Australia, I'm going to give a quick plug. We're running a conference next year in March. So
Nice.
running a Digital Marketers Australia conference in Melbourne for 2 days, March 18th and 19th. So come down to that. We're going to have some awesome speakers and content and hacks, lots of hacks.
Awesome. I think there's a huge need for some digital marketing conferences in Australia. So thank you for providing that for us Aussies. We certainly need it.
Yeah,
Um,
it'll be really good.
awesome. Thank you so much, Stephen, for coming on today's show. You've been so generous with your knowledge and your time. And yeah, I'll chat to you soon.
No, thank you so much for having me. We'll
All
catch
right.
you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Talking Web Marketing podcast. For more information or resources on today's episode, head on over to talkingwebmarketing.com.